embracing failure as a precondition to success. We sat there and thought, flip, we all go through this. But nobody really wants to acknowledge it. Everybody romanticizes this idea of being an entrepreneur.
I can officially say I've had a meltdown. Went to the supermarket. In the middle of the supermarket, I cried my heart out. Like literally lost it. Your staff, they will make or break your business. Because when you're not there, they are the ambassadors of your place.
We all go through this. But nobody really wants to acknowledge it. Everybody romanticizes this idea of being an entrepreneur. We all about, yeah, no, we're hustling. And you ask somebody, how are things going? No, things are good. You're lying. Why are you lying to us? Because we can relate. We know that we go through so many problems. This is why we say entrepreneurs come to the hookup dinner and alcoholics go to AA. Like that comparison, we say it like this because we want to drive a message home. This is a place of healing in terms of entrepreneurs. But not just that, then it becomes a springing ground for new ideas. And when we decided to choose failure as a theme for this month across the country for the hookup dinner, we thought, who better than to chat to somebody that has had a thriving business and has got a lot of PR that came behind that. She got covered the way that we get covered currently with our business. And after that, she closed it. What was really compelling for us was after she closed it, she went through a process of understanding what happened, and she was at peace with it. And do you know how somebody's at peace with something? Is when they're ready to talk about it. And I found that to be powerful.
Good evening, everyone. I honestly do think I need to pay Lebo his commission for being my hype man, because I don't think anyone sells me like he does. Anyway, my name is Katleho, as I've been introduced, and I'm really here just to share my story about failure and embracing that and the lessons that come with it. And disclaimer, I'm not here to turn you off entrepreneurship. I'm just here to share a part that is inevitable in this journey. I'm honored to be given this platform by the Hookup Dinner team. All of us gathered here today have a story to tell. And I do believe that in hearing each other's story, we are giving each other an advantage. And this is vital because entrepreneurship is a repetitive process. As they've said, my story is about failure. At the admission of my failure, at hearing the word failure, how many of you cringed with a show of hands? I ask this because society has it engraved in us that we look down on failure. Society has taught us that we give pity party to those that have failed. But let me tell you something. Although a tough pill to swallow, failure is a precondition to success. In 2009, I decided my life needed a revamp professionally. I had spent the last decade living abroad, and in my 1 year of returning to South Africa, I had gone through 2 jobs. On a random Saturday, I decided to go to the mall, and that's where I was attracted to the Destiny magazine. And I have a random habit of flipping through a magazine before I fully immerse myself in it. And in browsing it, I found a quote that read, "The secret to life is to follow your bliss." That quote was the first brick in laying my entrepreneurial foundation. It hit a chord with me that even today I cannot begin to properly articulate. At that point in time, I knew that I needed to follow my bliss. And my bliss was answering my entrepreneurial calling. How many of you remember the sitcom's Girlfriends, the American sitcom? I've always considered myself a Joan. Don't judge me, I know we all do that. For some reason, Joan is someone, or Joan's character is someone I aspire to be, a woman I aspire to be. The way that she was a go-getter, fiercely independent, successful, and happy all at the same time. At this point in time, we will not go into the details as to why I also thought I was a Joan. For the longest time watching the show, I always imagined myself being a Joan, as if you recall, she used to own a restaurant called the J Spot. So I would daydream, one day, Linda, I'm going to own the K Spot. And my mom and I would just have daydreams about it. And I think when they say, watch what you put out to the universe, the story of Joan is an example of that. Because I was half serious, half joking, but I put it out in the universe. And it later became a part of my story. Having my older brother and father pass away a few years before, my mom was my go-to for everything, my confidant, my BFF, my advisor. So after reading this quote from Destiny magazine about following your bliss, I called my mom, who was based in DC as a diplomat at that point. And she picked up the phone, and the first thing I said was, I'm ready to be a Joan. And she knew exactly what that meant, because it meant I was ready to open my restaurant. We spoke, and she assured me that as my parent, she would do whatever it took to see this dream materialize. By the end of that evening, end of that conversation, end of reading that Destiny magazine, I had a rough draft of my business concept. Put in my resignation letter at work. Mind you, it was not like I was from a rich family or a trust fund baby, unfortunately. But somehow the passion surpassed the fear. And I wish that is something we could remind ourselves each and every day. I had approached a lot of agencies which supposedly help young entrepreneurs who have issues like us. You just come about and you have no collateral, but you've got these business concepts. And I would either get an automated response saying, no funds for the year, try again next financial year. Or, sorry, restaurant business is risky. I mean, hello, what restaurant, what business is not risky? I mean, that is, we're told that entrepreneurs, well, if there's one thing we have in common, is that we love risk. So here I am. I've done all this research. I've found my potential location. I've, done all the work, and there's no funding. The one thing I need to get this project actually working. So went back to mommy, called her and told her, this is the problem. Went back to mommy, called her and told her, this is the problem. And she assured me that she would, as my parent, once again, do whatever it took to get this dream, come to life. We would use whatever funds she had in the hope that as the project grew, we would be able to attract funding. I had friends and family chip in. So this is something I did not take lightly, because these are people's life savings, and they were only investing it in me because of their belief in me and their belief in this project. Fast forward October 2010, age 25, Bliss doors open. I'm that person walking on cloud 9. Here's this baby of mine that had started off as an idea, and now I can walk into Bliss, I can eat the food at Bliss, I can drink the cocktails at Bliss, which, mind you, were yummy. Testify to that. It was no longer just a dream. It honestly was, tangible. Could open and close the doors to Bliss. I had stuff to pay, And to this day, I will hold the memories of day one very close to my heart. They're very much engraved right here. Weeks went by, months went by, with that honeymoon stage soon ended. Now I was faced with the reality of being an entrepreneur. Granted, I was very much a hands-on owner. I would wash the dishes if need be, make the cocktails if need be, serve the tables. So I was already introduced to that aspect of running a business. Now I'm running out of capital, but still, I've got customers that need food, so that means buying stock, whether there were 100 customers coming in or one customer coming in. If I'm saying I've got something on my menu, I need to make sure that it's there. I've got staff to pay. I've got rent to pay. And I'm looking at my bank account, and we're not agreeing as to what it needs to do. Every time I would voice this out, I was told, Katlaho, you're being impatient. Things like this take time. You need to be patient. And yeah, they were right, it needed time. I would look on social media, see what people are saying about Bliss. It was positive. I would read the customer satisfaction cards. They were positive. I knew I had a beautiful restaurant. I knew my offering was amazing. I knew my customer service was on point. To a certain extent, I thought location was on point. But then again, I'm the new baby on the block when all the other restaurants have established themselves for 2 to 4 years. So it's not going to be easy to all of a sudden, try and climb the ladder. And with the little bit of money I had left, I decided to employ a marketing company because I figured, okay, maybe we need more people to know about this place. They had amazing strategies, but unfortunately, those strategies required time. And time is something I did not have. I needed to get bums on those seats because that's the only way I was going to pay my bills. The contract soon ended. And once again, every time I would tell people how frustrated I am and so forth, I was told, you need time, be patient. People would come into the restaurant and tell me how lucky I was to be running such a beautiful restaurant. They wish they were me. And I was very quick to say, you do not want to be me. Because at that point, being me meant crying myself to sleep every night because I was afraid of losing my restaurant. Being me at that point meant literally feeling my heart beat out of my chest because I would look at my bank account and look at the obligations that I had, and it did not match. So that's another lesson. Don't judge a book by its cover. Looks beautiful, but you don't know what happens. I was often told that the number one mistake I made was paying staff. Anyone in the restaurant, hospitality industry would know this. In no way that was right by me because I couldn't expect people to come to work and let them survive on tips. And I'd also seen the consequences of what happens when staff don't get paid. Trust me, they will make sure they get paid, and it will not be good. So there were moments, it was a very difficult period in my life, and I would miss out on rent payments, play hide and seek from my landlord, who would eventually find me. I'm in the same complex. And he would give me a stern warning, and, it would be the same game over and over. Blood, sweat, and lots of tears were not an exaggeration with my story. I remember being told, you are not a real entrepreneur until you have felt like you are being dragged down a tar road naked with your skin scraping off. There is no truer description. The energy in the complex also started becoming very negative. And I'm a firm believer in guarding your energetic space. Being a 20-something-year-old girl owning a restaurant with people who are, much older than me did not sit well with most of them. I would have my menu items replicated by other restaurants, which means they were threatened. I remember having a major booking being stolen by a neighbor of mine. Listen, it went as far as being called the K word by one of my neighbors. On some of the difficult days, my staff would say, Oskatli, bliss will flourish, man. Don't stress, just keep the faith. I would have my mom constantly remind me that we will keep fighting for bliss until there is literally no more money in the bank. I would listen to my patrons tell me that bliss is a niche concept. Niche concepts take time, so be patient. I would have new patrons who would say, it doesn't make sense that you're not full. You're not running at full capacity. You've got an amazing offering. So how dare I want to give up on this when there was so much enthusiasm for it? As much as there were struggles, there were some beautiful highlights where bliss would just surprise me, and for some months months run a break even, just be busy, crazy busy, and my heart will be doing somersaults, and it would really be blissful. One of the good days that I remember was the day Whitney Houston died. I'm telling you now, Whitney Kidlozilaka. She put in a good word for me when she got to the other side. If you remember, it was a Sunday sometime in February. Summer days, you would think, restaurant would be busy. Got to work that Sunday. I was depressed naturally because I was a major Whitney Houston fan. So to come to work knowing that she'd just passed away. Open my diary, no bookings. So it just made the day sadder. Let me tell you, by the second hour of lunch service, I was that owner, turning people away. We're full today. Ain't nobody got time for you. I'd always wanted, to be that boss. Sorry, please book. We're closed. We're full for the next 2 weeks or whatever it is that these famous restaurants do. But on that day, I managed to do that. So, as much as there were struggles, there were also beautiful moments like that. Despite all of that, 27 months later, came a point where I needed to make a decision I dreaded. There literally was no more money in the bank. The business was picking up, but just not fast enough. My mom told me if I still wanted to fight, she did not know how, but she would make a plan. I owe my mom my life. I went to bed that night, had a talk with higher power. I don't know if any of you have gone through that negotiation prayer. We like, do this, I'll do that. Where you just went down on my knees, spoke to the universe on some, listen, you need to help me. I don't know what it is that I need to do. You need to give me direction as to the next steps. I knew a part of me still wanted to fight. But there was this other part which was exhausted and felt, you've done what you could, bow out. But, you never know which decision. So anyway, said my heartfelt prayer and, just kind of let it go. In the week following that, I got a call from my staff member telling me that the supplier had forgotten to deliver milk and the kitchen staff was running short. I can officially say I've had a meltdown. Went to the supermarket. In the middle of the supermarket, I cried my heart out. Like literally lost it. All because someone had told me that we're running out of milk. Picked up the milk, paid, got into my car, put on a facade and pretended everything was okay. But in retrospect, that was sign number one. I mean, worse things had happened. Now I'm crying over milk that's not delivered in the middle of a supermarket. Later on, same day, one of my regular patrons came in, and we were just having conversation. I had not, put it out to anyone that I was ready to call it quits. And in my conversation with this patron, she says to me, have you ever thought that maybe Bliss the restaurant was not your dream, but a step in taking you to your real bliss, to your real dream? I still get goosebumps saying that because that was sign number 2. It resonated with me, and I just felt this is an answer. I'm so caught up holding on to this is the dream that I've ignored everything else that the universe is trying to direct me or life is trying to direct me to. Anyway, later on, same day, my landlord comes to me. He was very concerned, Katlego, what's happening? What do you want to do? What are the plans? And I told him, I think it's game over for me and Bliss. And he says to me, there's someone who's interested in the space. And my advice would be to talk to him. You could perhaps sell certain aspects of the restaurant and gain whatever money you have lost. And no, don't worry, I won't charge you for the remainder of the lease. And just like that, I'd made the decision to close the doors to a dream I had put love, time, sacrifice, money, you name it. I obviously had to break the news to my staff, which I think, had it not been of them, I probably may have made the decision earlier. I had such a solid team that my biggest fear was, what happens when Bliss closes? When Bliss closes, these 16 people that I have here need to now go back to their families and tell them there's no money for school fees, no money for food. I did not have it in me to be that person. But life is what it is. Till this day, I respect my staff that even though they were told that they were losing their jobs, they were still so understanding and still so supportive. We still have a strong relationship, and even today, you know, I'll get the random call, Oskatli, when are you opening the next Bliss? Don't forget me, you know, hala. Anyway, earlier on I asked you how many of you felt a certain cringe when I mentioned the word failure. As and when I broke the news to people around me, the reaction I would get is, Shem, poor you. Oh my God, it's such an embarrassment. What are you going to tell people? Oh my God. It was the negative, the pity party, the kisono, skepsele kind of vibe. But funny enough, when I would tell business owners or people who had experienced some sort of major setback, their response was, congratulations, high five. You're now on your way to success. And I believe that is the mindset as aspiring entrepreneurs we need to have. Google any of the entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs that you admire. Oprah, Kanye Lomo, you name them. They have a story of failure. So from my experience, the reaction I was getting from, you know, entrepreneurs versus people just, you know, who had not experienced this journey. So once again, you know, change your mindset around failure. But then again, I'm not saying fail just to fail, you know, fail with a purpose. It took me a while to get to this point where I can embrace failure, let alone speak about it to a room full of people. So let me correct myself. My story is not about failure. My story is about how failure is pushing me in the direction of my bliss. Had I not gone through my journey with Bliss Restaurants, I would not be in a position of this spiritual, emotional, business, emotional intelligence and maturity. And while it was one of the most difficult decisions to make, I'm eternally grateful and I'm at peace. I miss Bliss greatly, but honestly, I am at peace. It is no doubt that I've learned a lot. But the top 5 lessons I want to share with you are, number 1, entrepreneurship is not to be romanticized. You need to decide the price you are willing to pay for your entrepreneurial dreams. Sometimes this journey involves the sacrifice of your stability, the sacrifice of your security, and if you recall in my case, your sanity. Number 2, take ownership of your mistakes. When we are faced with failure, we want to find a scapegoat. That's human nature. The greatest peace awaits you when you take ownership of the role that you played in that mistake, in that failure. For me, in retrospect and, you know, analysis and everything, the location was a mistake. 44 Stanley, I fell in love with it, but it was not the right place for Bliss. And prior to signing my lease, there were signs which I ignored. Never ignore your intuition. It is far better informed than you will ever be. Number 3, define what success is to you. Bliss did not make it, you know, for financial reasons. But I know that it was successful in so many aspects. A year after I closed Bliss, randomly at a Woolworths, in line, I was about to pay, there were 2 ladies in front of me having a conversation. And eavesdropping in their conversation, they're going on and on about how, but that Bliss at 44 Stanley was amazing. It's such a pity that it closed. I literally wanted to jump up and down. I don't know these people. I don't recall seeing them at Bliss, but the fact that a year after it closed, they could still talk about it, that to me means Bliss was successful in that aspect that it still left some sort of impression on people, and they were still talking about it long after the doors were closed. Number 4, sometimes we're not ready to handle what we ask of the universe. while I can blame location, I can blame funding, sometimes our biggest dreams do not fully manifest because we're not in a position to receive them. It could mean many different things. In my case, I was not spiritually mature to receive the blessing that bliss was. Number 5, align your goals to your purpose. A dear friend of mine once asked me what my purpose was and how did bliss fit into it. I was unable to answer him, but for some reason it became the orange monkey on my back. It was that question that I felt needed an answer, but I just did not know how. And during my process with bliss and long after bliss, especially after bliss, that became my job, to try and find what my purpose was. Because I am now certain that until you are clear on what your purpose is, you are in big trouble forever. Look at any successful entrepreneurs. Their businesses are aligned with their true divine purpose. Certainly, bliss was built on love. It was built with good intentions, but I was not clear on how it served my purpose or how my purpose served it. But it certainly was a catalyst in awakening me to my purpose today and how my current entrepreneurial ambitions are in line with that purpose. I have failed, but I now know failure is an inevitable part of that journey in finding your ultimate bliss, whatever that bliss is. It is how you embrace that failure that matters. Today, I'm on the brink of launching Her Bliss, a mentoring platform for young women entrepreneurs, and that came about as a result of my failure with bliss. My failure with bliss has helped propel me to my next success. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to put you off the journey, but rather to inform you that it is and it will be a part of your journey. No one goes out with intentions to fail, but do not hold yourself back because of fear of failing. They say the fine art of entrepreneurship lies in knowing when to exit. Don't be afraid to bow out with grace. My heart holds dreams I'm relentlessly pursuing, and I'm far better equipped to pursue them based on my experience. So to you I say, give your dreams the respect they deserve by pursuing them. Follow your bliss and marvel at where it leads you to.